And we are live. So this is part of the Creative Underground think tank, and we have with us Beth and Bob today, and we're going to talk about what is plein air painting. Just give you a little informal background and discussion, things that we enjoy, things that we see differently from each other, and what we enjoy about painting plein air, or any other way for that fact, because we just love painting, all of us. So um, Beth is here.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we have Bob, and we're coming from different parts of the country, and Google Hangouts has allowed us to have this nice connection and be able to save it on YouTube, so people that don't get to see it today can watch it later. So I was just going to start us off with a little bit about what plein air painting is to answer the simple question. And plein air painting is a French term. It confuses a lot of people just because it is, I guess, French. And it means to paint outside or outdoors. A lot of people call it outdoor painting, not to be confused with landscape painting, because landscape painting could be painted indoors or outdoors. But if you're saying plein air painting or outdoor painting, you are definitely outside and you have your paints and your painting. So with that said, I'd just like to open it up just to our panel and just have them discuss what they enjoy about plein air painting. Beth, you want to take it?
Sure. I'm a rookie still. New. This is probably my second year even painting in plein air, but I've learned so much. Learned capture, the essence of the painting. Put down the light before it changes. It just really forces you to paint quickly, to find the light even when it's not there on a sunny day, although I prefer it. I'm excited. In 2 weeks I'm going to Waycross, which is going to be my first rugged, cold plein air, so it's really going to test me to see how passionate I really am about plein air painting, because I have a feeling it's going to be cold.
Yeah,
but I'm going to be painting with some die-hard plein air painters, and that keeps you going. And I find really that's the key for me, is having other people to paint with, because it forces you to go. It makes it more fun. You've got fellowship. You bounce ideas off one another, and to me, that's one of the joys of being an artist anyway, is the camaraderie.
That's awesome. Bob, what would you like to talk about a little bit?
Well, I've been painting on a regular basis only for about 4 years, and plein air painting for about a couple. And I found that plein air painting really helped me in one specific way, is that before I started plein air painting, my paintings tend to be colored drawings. I'm pretty good at drawing and novice at painting, so I would tend to do a lot of drawing ahead of time and essentially paint by numbers almost, and the results were not very satisfactory. And painting outdoors, because of the time constraint and the physical setup, it forces you to think more in terms of shapes and abstract shapes, and getting them on the panel fast enough that you can get the job done within the 2 or 3 hours that you're going to be able to work on that painting outdoors. That's really helped me organize my approach to painting, and I think it's helped me improve the product quite a bit.
Were either of you guys intrigued by the movement that's kind of sweeping our country, maybe even fad or popularity that plein air painting has become, or what was that it interests you about plein air painting?
I'm only interested in from a standpoint of improving my paintings. I really think the painting, when it's done, has to stand on its own. It doesn't really matter whether you painted it with a sable brush or a popsicle stick. It has to stand on its own, right? And
Right.
it doesn't really matter to the person viewing the painting whether you painted it 100% outdoors, partly in the studio, or painted it underwater or standing on your head. It's irrelevant from the standpoint of communicating to the viewer. It's helpful to me in terms of obviously the light involved, the time, compressing the time so that you have to get busy and do the whole, organize the whole space in a quick
Right.
manner, and the practice of that has been helpful to me overall. But I don't think the plein air movement, I've been getting information from Plein Air Magazine about their upcoming convention where they plan to have 800 people on the cliffs in Monterey painting simultaneously. To me, that's like the equivalent of a hot dog eating contest. uh, you know, it's not enjoying a hot dog. It's now you say, how many hot dogs can we eat in an hour? That to
Yeah.
me, that's type of a contest. I've been in competitive businesses all my life. Now that I'm retired, I really don't care to enter a competitive painting drill or test. I want to improve my paintings at my pace and my way. So plein air painting has been very helpful to me with that. I don't really think in terms of plein air painting being end to all. I don't think anybody will pay more for a painting because it was plein air or than they would if it just appealed to them on a regular basis.
Yeah, I think you kind of bring up a number of good points, and almost too many for me to keep up with. But I think that you know, the American way has always been in the past, bigger is better, and bigger is not always better. But I think that what has confused, and Beth and you and I talked about this a little earlier, is that when newbies, so to say, come into the plein air, because it is interesting and you can learn a lot, like Bob has been saying, they're confused by this aspect, and a lot of the competitions and things like that maybe help to confuse it, is that they think that because we're painting plein air that it has to be done in this competitive nature. You got to have an entry fee, you got to use a stamped canvas and all this kind of stuff, and that's another aspect or an evolution of plein air painting that has added some intrigue and some fun to plein air painting. But it wasn't the original concept of plein air painting, which was, Bob, you and I talked about this a while ago, the invention of the paint tube, being able to carry your paints out on location, giving the landscape painter an opportunity to paint outdoors. So just not of a long discussion, but just as a note, to realize there's plein air painting you can enjoy as an individual or with a few people or a group or a larger group if you want to, and it's up to you. For me, being outdoors has always been a great thing. I love garden outside, play tennis outside. Outside's wonderful, and then the lighting that's available outside, the colors that you see, you won't see them any other place like you see outdoors. So if you really want to learn about painting, one of the best places is what I would call in the trenches, and in the trenches is plein air painting. A little background for me is I actually been plein air painting quite a bit of my life. I didn't really ever think of it as plein air painting, more of just getting outside and painting. And I used to do it with my kids. They were very young. And
I don't want to interrupt, Daryl, but I'm starting to get a lot of feedback. A lot of feedback and bad sound. Is that?
I don't know if that's us or someone in the screen.
I don't hear anything.
It's just a subtle garble sound. Yep, it might be a echo of me talking in and coming back out. Maybe we'll use headphones in that time. So I think whatever you decide to do with the plein air painting, it should be something that you enjoy and that would further your artistic love for painting and possibly your knowledge that would improve painting. So, Beth, did you want to say some more?
Well, yeah, sure. That brings a lot. It brings a lot of things to my mind because I think there are a lot of reasons why I like to paint outside. One of it being for fun, which is okay.
Right.
One of it being for competition, which is also okay. And another is because it really, you get something from painting outside that you can't get from a photograph. That doesn't mean you can't paint beautiful paintings from a photograph, but it's just the three-dimensional, atmospheric, whatever it is, that adds to the painting. You know, there are, you know, there's, if you do a competition, though, this time is if you're in a plein air painting competition, then you have to be kind of a purist when it comes to the painting itself, because the whole point of the competition is what can you paint outside. And then there's the aspect of, okay, I'm going to do a study, I'm going to paint this painting, and then I'm going to take it in the studio, and I may completely change it, I may scrape it down, I may start over, and that's really the artist's prerogative on what the end piece looks like, or what the inspiration is, or whether you want to use it to do a bigger studio piece. I mean, there's so many reasons to paint, there's so many positive things about it, but it's really a tool to be used for lots of things. For me, the reason I paint outside mostly is for companionship.
Wow.
In painting, because you don't go into each other's studios and paint.
Right.
But you know, you can take a whole group of people. Because when I was learning, and I still am learning, obviously, but I really was just desperate to paint with people. And so that was really the only way that was going to happen, unless I went and took classes.
Right. I mean, they're like-minded people. You know, they're other artists. They kind of all think a little bit similar, so it makes it a little easier to get along with them and things like that.
Right. And you're not all confined. Everybody gets their own room. You know, there's plenty of space, but the more I do it, the better I'm getting at just painting in general, and also painting plein air, and I'm appreciating the benefits of it that I didn't really notice when I was first doing it. I was just going to paint, and so, but I don't like bugs, so. You know, that's the downside.
Got a big clear bug spray. A lot of people, you know, they want to make sure there's bathrooms around. They want to make sure they can have their coffee. I mean, those are all considerations that you do need to think about. And
I've seen the benefits of having like a nice filter umbrella, you know, to filter the light, and the difference when I don't use that and I take the painting indoors, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what was, you know, because your eyes change based on the light. But so there's a lot of great things about it. I probably wouldn't have painted in 98-degree weather at West Baden if it wasn't for a particular outing. You know, so you put up with probably conditions in plein air painting when you're doing a competition, or when you're doing a specific event than you probably would normally. You know, so those are the kinds of things that I'm learning about.
I enjoy the aspect of being outdoors, but I could be outdoors by myself, and so if I have people there too, that's nice. But for me, and I love interacting with people. I love playing on tennis court and getting there with other tennis players, playing doubles and all that. But But a lot of times when I paint plein air, I'm just as good just being by myself, getting into my zone, getting lost and caught up with what I love doing. But you brought up one other good point, which is being prepared. And I do have my plein air book where I talk about that, and just kind of truncates all that. I actually have all my supplies in a suitcase, and they're ready to go. I have my palettes and my canvases all ready to go, all my tools, my paint, what I'm going to use to clean things up with, all there. So every time I go out, I'm not running around the house looking for, like, where's this, where's that? So for me, that really streamlined things and made it very comfortable to go plein air painting, because I'm set up and ready to go on a moment's call.
Yeah, that's great.
And the other point you brought up, kind of indirectly, is about the plein air paintings and what some of the art groups, with they're going to have a gallery show, and they're saying, hey, we're going to have plein air painting. This is a little further out for the mature painter, but they have a problem that if you did a plein air painting and then you took it back to the studio and you would, like, touch it up, and then to present it in a gallery as an original plein air painting. Well, these kind of rules and mumbo jumbo in a way is just up to the individual gallery and the person that wants to present a show, what kind of criteria they want to describe. It has nothing to do if it is or is not a plein air painting. For me, plein air painting is so responsive, and I'm so engaged with what I am doing outside that when I go back into the studio, I could maybe make a little dab of a change on my painting. But if I did anything more than that, I think I would just totally destroy and kill the light that I was able to bring. Because honestly, I'm just not that good to go back and change things and to remember the lighting. Bob, did you have anything to talk about on that topic?
Yeah, but I noticed that your sound is breaking up even more, and the lag between the sound and your video seems to be worse as our session goes on.
It might
for
just
me
be your
as before. I didn't have that problem with Julie, but I'm having that problem with your. I'm really getting a huge lag there, and also a lot of garbled sound.
With Daryl or Daryl and me?
No, just Daryl.
Okay.
Do
you have a Mac, Daryl?
I get it from Bob. I get more drag. I think we're just going to have to press on through that, though.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But would you like to respond to the idea of some of the objections you've seen with people in plein air groups, or?
I'm moving to you.
Yeah, I see that.
I'm moving to a different spot here. Yeah, I think it's perfectly legitimate for any organizers of a show or an event to set limits of what they want to narrow and focus the show or the event or contest. Any rules they want to add that they think will enhance that or make it more focused, I don't have any problem with that. I realize that anytime you have an art show, artists like to cheat, and they will try to cheat, so it becomes a source of controversy.
Yeah.
From what I've read, that's pretty universal among art show organizers, that people will do everything possible to cheat.
Yeah, I don't know if
percentage of people
are
will.
just very inventive, but
yeah,
I hate
they'll do everything possible.
Well,
there's certain people with has a tendency to poison the whole contest, but that's a different subject entirely from what you would consider your output as an artist under normal circumstances. I think if you enter an event, you have the duty to honor their stipulations on how to do it. If you don't like those, don't enter.
Right.
But don't cheat it.
Yeah, I mean, that's, if you're going to do it, be honest, because you only cheat yourself when you do anything that would be cheating. And you know, we're here to engage people with our paintings, and I think that if you had to cheat to say it,
that's sad.
it's sad, yeah, and I think it would come across in your painting as you're cheating, because you can't hide that kind of stuff when you paint. So if you're going to say cheater,
human nature is human nature.
Your painting.
Human nature is.
Even if you didn't want to say it.
Yeah. Well, there's always, that's what I mean. And then some people really put forth a lot of energy to expose cheaters, but, you know, they're going to have to live with themselves. And so you can only do what you can do. And I appreciate guidelines and rules, because then I know the boundaries in which I'm supposed to work. So you know, a lot of people think they're controlling or limiting, but I think, you know, especially for the IPAPA, this last show we had, it was really helpful to know what they consider plein air painting, at least for the competition.
Right. And that's what we talked about, just not to confuse people, that's a different kind of plein air painting versus what really plein air painting. That's competition painting.
Plein air painting. Right. And put on by an organization that promotes plein air painting. So it was, you know, it was put on by the Indiana Plein Air Painters Association. So, you know, they want to keep that focus on not studio painting, but plein air painting.
Right.
And I appreciate that. And I think it's good to say, okay, this is a level playing field. All these paintings were created 90% out of doors. And I think that's a great definition.
There are a few people that argued about it, too.
Yes, they did. And there always will be. Well, one, I think not everybody feels as comfortable being able to paint the whole painting out of doors, and they're used to having that studio time and to improve the painting. Whether whether it's being improved is a matter of opinion.
Right.
I would probably say not. Like you said, Daryl. Like you said, you know, once you get it in there and start messing with it, you probably destroy a lot of the beauty of painting too.
Yeah, I think they probably do. Maybe some people, if they feel that they have to take it back to the studio and work on it so much, maybe they're not ready for a plein air competition, because it does take a certain level of tenacity. You have to wield your paint a little bit more, a little more experience. And so I guess that's a good point long term for painters, is that if you're going to get into plein air painting, you want to have some patience with yourself to develop. You know, don't try to make yourself having to compete against one of the top big guys. You know, I mean, some personal. It's painting's like anything else. Why would you think that you could learn it in a day or two and go out there and compete with people? Some of these people spend years and years to develop. So get into a plein air group that you're comfortable with, like Beth said, that you can make good friends with, and enjoy your time. If you're not enjoying, don't do it. Right?
Absolutely.
I'm carrying this to another room.
Try to find a good spot for it.
I wanted to be close to my PC.
Bob's our roving reporter.
What's going on outside, Bob? Did you want to say something, Bob? Or what did you find a good spot? Better before. But, all right, well, I did write out a couple notes, and I think we kind of hit it, is when you get into these plein air events, I think one thing we need to do with having a little patience with ourselves is not to take ourselves too seriously. You this is not the end of the world. I mean, you have to put things in perspective, and I think you're going to grow a lot better. In tennis, I've seen people get really upset and go into little temper tantrums. I see some painters that can go that far. They're just getting it too much. It's if you're doing these competitions to make the big bucks and the big money and all the big prizes they have, maybe you're putting too much pressure on your painting. I would rather see someone work at Hardee's and then go out painting and not have the pressure put on their painting, because all that stuff is going to go into your painting. You're going to see it on the canvas. Or, I've heard people that want to paint, and I actually talk about this in the new book I have now, that you see people painting for the wrong reasons, and they're trying to build up 20 canvases to get in a show. Maybe they should only work on 1 or 2 good ones, But
Right.
someone said, I need lots of canvases. So there's a lot of myths and mistruths that you'll hear in painting, plein air painting, and in life, obviously. And we need to weed through some of these myths and find out what's important. I'm hoping that some of these think tank conversations we have with our group here and with other artists we'll bring in and talk with will help move painters to doing better plein air painting and realize what's really going on and not being confused by it.
Yeah.
Any more thoughts on this that you guys have?
No, I like what you said about being prepared. To Ann Blair Brown, I don't know if you know who she is, but she's a Nashville, Tennessee artist. And they have a wonderful group down there called the Chestnuts. They get together, they paint figure, they paint landscape, they do all kinds of things, but they meet on a regular basis. And it's a great way to get yourself out there painting, because if you've got other people that are going to be showing up, it kind of gives you a reason to get out there and paint. But she talked about being prepared too. She said she's always got a bag with her paints, her palette, her brushes cleaned, ready to go. So if there's a good day, she's got free time, all she has to do is grab the bag and run. And I ordered Kevin McPherson's set. He's got a nice plein air set with a little 8x10 Prashad box and a carrying case and an easel, everything you need that you can just kind of leave ready to go.
Yeah, I have a list on my website too that has a whole list of supplies of brushes, painting knives, the easel I use for plein air painting that I like. It does have that tripod where you can easily put it up. I've seen people with those old wooden plein air easels, and they're less expensive, but I've seen people where they just collapse all over. They get set up. It takes them forever to set it up. And that tripod easel I have, it's from it's a Gorilla.
Easy-L? Oh, okay.
And I love that. I've adapted it though, because it wasn't quite exactly what I wanted, and I put some glass in the front of it so I could use it to mix on my paints with. So there is some adapting to make things, fit and suit yourself. But and I got what you mentioned earlier before we got on. I have the plein air umbrella because you want to have your easel and your palette shaded. But if it's a real windy day, you might have to do without that, because it'll take you off like a kite, and you'll be down wherever. Other things we talked about is the plein air groups. I'm in a couple of them. I'm in the plein air painters here with the Indiana also, and then also I'm in the South Carolina low country painters, and I enjoy both groups. So it's important, like any group that you join, that you find a group that you enjoy. You enjoy the people. If you don't enjoy the people, find another group, because there's more than one group out there. And then even go out if you want to. If you're a little timid about it, go out by yourself a few times, see how it works. get a little comfortable before you go with a group. I could understand people wanting to do that too. So you have to do whatever works out for you and your personality. So
I've done some of my most favorite paintings just in my backyard.
right. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think that's true. I think that's what painters have been doing for ages. They wake up, they get out in their backyard, and they paint. Cezanne, one of my favorite plein air painters, he painted his mountain, and that was his backyard.
Yeah.
He's a good one to read about if you want to learn about where plein air painting really started. He's contributed to possibly the father of plein air painting. Bob, any last minute thoughts now that you got your sound all worked out?
I don't think the sound's completely worked out yet, but it comes and goes. Right now, there's no echo. But a few minutes ago, it was really bad. So I can't really, I don't know what's causing it. I'm going to have to work on that. But I have, I think that Julie, I think that Beth is right about the social aspect of it. If you're not painting with anybody and not getting any feedback from people you think that are as good as you or better than you, then you're not learning as fast as you could with the feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if you're able to work with a group of your peers, it helps you improve your painting because they can help you with spots that you're weak in or observations you might have missed. And I think that's helpful. Plus, I think it's more fun if there's more than one person involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a couple rules on that, and I'll just share them here. But my rules are that if you're new to it, probably don't share your opinion that much because there's a lot to learn at first.
Right.
Because it's really bad when someone tells you something that maybe they heard and it's not really a truth, and there's a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, well, you have to filter that out. Not all advice is good advice.
And then another rule that might be or good advice is, don't give advice to people that don't want it or don't ask for it, because if they want advice, they'll ask for your opinion. But don't really give out advice because they just might not want to hear it or might not be ready to hear it or want to hear it from somebody else. So those are little practical advices that, and then my one big pet peeve I talk about a number of times in my different books is that when we talk to other artists, that we use the word critique, and you always critique someone based on something that will help that individual. And then the word that some people get confused is the word crit, and they think it means criticize. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to criticize people because we're all out there trying to learn and grow, and criticism is just a very ugly thing to me.
Yeah.
And so, don't get those two things confused.
Well, and it's so subjective, because we all have different tastes too. Right. You've got more representational, you've got more abstract, and someone may be doing something brilliantly, but you don't see it or appreciate it.
Right.
And so it's I think those are all wise words of advice as far as criticizing, especially peers, because you're all on the journey. I mean, I'll ask if I can't get the shadow color right, or I know something's wrong with my composition. It's nice to have some artists that you respect and trust to kind of answer those things for you.
No, that's a really good point about painting in groups, and I haven't really thought about it. That you do really have all those other people that you can learn from and grow with, and being by yourself doesn't allow you to grow, like Bob said, at the rate that you can grow by working with a good group of people.
Mm-hmm. And just seeing how they tone their canvas, how they start. Do they use charcoal? Do they draw? Do they just start attacking shapes? You know, and everybody's got their own way of approaching that you can think, oh well, I never thought about doing that, or I never would have, you know,
approach them.
Yeah. So it's and you may choose not to, but I'm always fascinated watching someone build a painting.
Yeah, that old saying that they used to have, that, and it's still very good, is seek first to understand and then to be understood, I think. I find that painting, for me, and I think for most painters, it's extremely personal.
Mm-hmm.
And you're really putting your heart out there on the canvas, and it's not just one person, it's pretty much everyone. And so if you were critical, it could really hurt somebody's feelings and not help their painting. And the other thing I think people get confused on, the competition make this not a good thing, I think, is that when you are competing, you know, not always the best comes out of you as you'd want it to. So
yeah. Well, and I think that's a good thing. I mean, most of the people that I have been in competition with are so generous and so encouraging. And you got to root for each other when you win, and you know, be a graceful winner when you do. You know, because everybody has their moments, and you know, it's fun. I mean, that's what it should be. And
right.
It's just the painter of the moment, depending on who picks the painting. It could be anyone. But it's, you know, for me, it just gives you a reason to paint sometimes. And just, you know, the event itself a lot of times is more fun than the actual awards. But, you know, it's good to be recognized. I like painting. I like getting into juried shows. You know, I like winning awards, and it's not the only reason I paint, but I think it's a fun part of it.
Yeah, it's encouraging. It's motivating you, and you know, anything you can find to motivate your painting, it's a great thing.
Yeah.
Well, painting's a form of self-expression, and I think everybody would agree that it is. And somebody gives you an award or buys a painting, at least you've gotten through to that person. You've communicated with them on some level.
Right.
And that's rewarding to know that you're not just talking to yourself.
Right. That's a great way to put it, Bob.
Because you've been able to communicate in some way.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think I'd like to bring our broadcast to an end. I think we've hit on a lot of good points. I'm sure we'll talk about this topic again in the future. But I want to thank everybody that showed up today and tuned in, and the people that are going to watch this in the future. Please email us any questions that you might have. We'd like you to give us some input. And then also watch out for future live broadcasts and recordings that you can watch on YouTube. So Beth, Bob, I really appreciate you guys being here today. Thanks so much for your perspective. Yeah, happy painting. Yeah, happy painting. We'll have to go out plein air painting together, right?
That'd be awesome.
All right. Bye-bye.